Welcome back to another weekly recap. Just relieved, feel like I finally got my head on straight. But in this video, as always, we will be recapping the prior week in prep 7 weeks out, 5 weeks out from the NPC Midwest Gladiators, and then 7 weeks out from the Ben Weider Naturals. And with that being said, as always, going to cover training, nutrition, posing, and then also activity, calories, the big variables in prep. So gonna throw up training first and foremost on screen for you guys. You will see a lot of training has been more or less the same up to this point in prep for the last, gotta be 12 to 16 weeks. I would say I haven't made any major changes. And kind of going forward, there won't be any substantial changes. The one thing that I probably will look to do, and you'll see it on screen, will be just a pullback on my Arsenal pendulum squat weight-wise. Essentially what I'll do is keep one of my top sets at the load that I've been using instead of the two top sets at 4 plates. I may do a back off set on that at like 3.5 plates. So just reducing the load about 20% on one of the sets. And ultimately the reason behind that is just my execution's changed over time because the RPE has gone up as I've lost weight and got leaner in prep, and stabilities became more of a issue. I don't want to say issue per se, but more prevalent. And then also just gonna have some strength loss, just part of it as you get leaner and leaner. So where I used to do just like an unbroken 6, and then I would kind of have 4 broken up reps, may do a cluster of like 2 and 2. It's now been like struggle through 4 or 5, and then we're doing like 6 reps broken, just like grinding through those. So execution just really is faltered with trying to chase that weight or keep that same load. So I'm hoping to reduce the load, get at least 6 to 8 unbroken. Then if we need to pause, kind of get those last 2 with taking more of like a myo rep approach is kind of what I will be looking to do going forward. And as we are essentially 4 and 6 weeks out now, as the time of this recording this, kind of in the middle of the week, because I had posted the INBF WNBF show day video and wanted to get that out to you guys before continuing on with the prep series. So that'll be kind of the big thing, is just kind of toning back the load on that Arsenal pendulum squat in the beginning of the week. And then as we get to the back half of the week, which I'll throw up now for you guys, the cardio and arms will stay the same. And then for that upper day 1, that is usually my Friday morning session, I will be just taking 1 set of the dumbbell row out. So instead of 3 sets of 10, we're doing 2 sets of 10. Just going to really focus on the execution intent on those 2 sets and really striving for quality execution on the sets that I do partake in versus just trying to move weights at this point. More of a defensive approach to training, just coming so close to the end of prep, want to stay healthy while also just putting as much muscular tension into the movements versus just chasing the load at this point. And then for that lower day 2 that you're seeing, I've kind of already done this intuitively. And for the leg press, paused. It says pause, but honestly, as of the last couple of weeks, the sets have really not been paused. So I'm dropping a plate off of those sets. Still going to have 1 top set at 6 plates, and then we'll reduce the next 2 sets to 5 plates. Just get a lot better execution. Ultimately, can keep the muscle to the fire longer. So I feel like I'm going to get the same stimulus, if not a better stimulus, from a slightly lighter load in those. And then we did swap out something like the V squat to the sissy squat. And that is just to make sure ultimately we're recovering from training adequately while still providing a stimulus for muscle to stay around. So that kind of sums things up for training. And then hopping over to nutrition activity for the week, you'll see the last 2 weeks on screen, so 6 weeks out and 5 weeks out. Essentially did see weight come down 1 pound from the previous week, with macro totals at 235 protein, 219 carb, and 67 fat. And then caloric total average coming out to 2,379. Cardio has been 20 minutes on the elliptical at a 12 resistance, and usually that'll come out to like 257 calories, 255 calories, kind of depends on my pace, but ultimately setting a minimum standard of 250 calories for the elliptical, and then additionally structured cardio wise doing 8,000 plus steps with an 8-pound weighted vest. And just kind of experimenting with the weighted vest for the last week definitely adds a bit more fatigue to those steps. So that is another reason kind of pull back the training volume, with that expenditure outside of training being a bit higher. And speaking in nutrition, just expenditure in general, I know I did have a 1 pound weekly loss, which is kind of the target that I want to be at. But with seeing my weight at the beginning of this week, with this being Tuesday night as of recording this, I have kind of decided going forward, we'll be chasing lower macros, kind of what is feasible for me, while still maintaining kind of my meal structure and what I've been doing for prep. So what that'll kind of look like will be around 2,000 calories a day. So taking off another like 300 to 400 per day. And then as needed, we'll kind of see how the rest of this week goes. We'll reevaluate how weight kind of fluctuates. But what that'll kind of look like for macro wise going forward will be about 230 protein, 175 carb, and about 50 fat. Give or take, those numbers will vary a bit. Big thing for me is just to keep fats in a decent range. So realistically, ideally would like to keep those up above 60, but in these last handful of weeks of really kind of grinding down the weight and chasing that conditioning, because ultimately in the untested show for the NPC, the one advantage that I can really bring, or the one thing that I'll be able to compete with and go above and beyond, is that conditioning. I just think there's a level of leanness that natural competitors get to that the enhanced guys tend not to get there unless they're on like an elite level. And if elite level conditioning shows up with enhanced size, can't really do much there. But I'm going to really just try and hone in my conditioning to the best of my abilities with these two shows kind of closing out the season, when I'm being my best look, which I believe will be in the lower 190s. So really, with it being once again 4 and 6 weeks out and having like peak weeks in there, won't be able to be in a deficit the whole time. So we're kind of playing a little bit of catch up at this point in prep, just due to those 2 off weeks of the diet break. And then also after my other show, going a little bit overboard with the calories. So having a weekly total at 3,400 kind of brought my weight back up. So we're really looking to dig out that weight, but very happy with how the physique is looking. Hopefully you guys have seen the posing footage on screen by now. But yeah, that really sums things up going forward, making that slight training volume adjustment for a couple exercises, and then reducing calories to the best of my abilities. We're just going to see how it goes and really, I guess, wring out the towel on prep, or get the most out of myself that I can, and just keep things rolling, get to a point where we're going as fast as possible without the wheels falling off. But that really sums things up for the weekly recap. If you have went on to enjoy or got any value out of this video, definitely leave a like, comment down below any questions, comments, concerns, and subscribe to the channel for more prep content. And as always, have a great rest of your day and stay fed.